Okay, so our topics covered today are interview basics, types of interview questions, essentially what should we expect, and then how to answer those questions, as well as best practices. So starting out, what is an interview? This sounds like kind of a basic question, and it is, but it's something to pause and think about because an interview, if we think about it, is an exchange of information between two people or two groups. And it's more than just the words that we use. It can be what we say, it can be how we say them, our body language. We're essentially communicating a lot about ourselves to the other person and vice versa. And that's really the foundation of what an interview is the interviewer trying to figure out who you are and do you fit into their organization? Would you be a good fit? So that's kind of above and beyond what the resume is going to show them. Types of interviews. So in a broad category, really, we've got video as a type of interview, we've got phone interview, and then we have in person. Okay, so those are really the three major types. Now, from those, we've also got one-on-one. So you can meet with somebody one-on-one over the phone or virtually or in person. So that's kind of what we think of as a standard interview situation, a one-on-one. We also have a panel where the candidate can be assessed by more than one interviewer, maybe 3 or 5 different people interviewing that one interviewee. There's also the option as a group. So it might be you're trying out for a particular position, and there might be a few other candidates in the room as well. And so this would be what we refer to as a group interview. Then phone, commonly used to screen applicants prior to in-depth interviews. So oftentimes you might have a brief interview with maybe an HR representative or a recruiter just to kind of figure out if you're going to be somebody that they're going to pass along to the interview team, kind of a pre-interview, if you will. So again, the types of interviews, virtual or video or phone in all reality. We might consider that virtual. Reasons for these different types of interviews, especially virtual, is the cost. They're cost effective. Instead of having somebody come to wherever you're located, it's easier. It costs less to just simply have the person over the phone or virtually. As a result, you can increase your candidate pool. So you can have a lot of back-to-back meetings that can go pretty quickly in terms of your scheduled time to meet with somebody over the phone or meet with somebody virtually. Of course, in addition, we now have COVID, so that brings it to a whole other level of just general safety. You know, if this is something that we do not have to do in person, then why not be safe and keep it at a distance? However, anything that's not in person, I think comes with its own unique set of challenges, be it internet challenges or phone challenges, anything like that. When we're dealing with technology, anything can happen, right? And we'll talk about that in just a little bit as well. So before your video interview, you want to find a good location. You want to make sure that you've got a spot in your home or your apartment that is well lit. It's going to look good. Um, you want to put your best face forward, so to speak. So if the lighting is rather strange, if the lighting is maybe coming behind you or harsh over your head, you don't want that, right? So you're going to find a good location, a good room, and you want to eliminate distractions. Perhaps you have roommates, um, friends, parents, whoever it might be. You don't want people coming in and out of the area that you're in because that's going to be distracting. They might make noise, and you really need to be able to focus on that interview at that time. Now, your outfit is still also going to be important. Um, Pick carefully. You want to have an outfit that's kind of much like a regular in-person interview, right? You're still going to dress up and just kind of plain clothes, basic colors, nothing too outrageous. Then check in your technology. Ideally, what you want to do is set up where you're going to have the interview and maybe just do a quick dry run through with a friend over Teams so that they can give you some feedback as to how the lighting is, how you sound, and just to make sure that you are connected and you know how to work the technology for that interview. Now, practice making eye contact. This can be a little tricky because it depends on if you're using a laptop or perhaps you're using a separate standalone camera. And so sometimes you'll see people looking one way and the video's another. Do your best to kind of be aware of where the camera is so that you can make contact, but you also need to be comfortable in what you're speaking about. So don't get too obsessed with staring into the camera at the cost of losing track of what it is that you're trying to say. Don't be caught off guard. So what we mean by this is be ready, right? You don't really know for sure what to expect when you go on an interview. They might throw something at you, an impromptu situation that they want to know your feedback. What would you do in this situation? Or give you a quick assessment, some skill tests, something that you think, well, I wasn't expecting that. I thought this was just going to be an interview where they ask me a few questions. Well, it could be anything. We really don't know what they're going to do. So we want to kind of have the mindset that we're going to roll with whatever it is that they want and we'll be ready. I also have water up there, and that's because sometimes when we give presentations, speeches, or in this case, interviews, we can get nervous and we can get cottonmouth, and that's distracting for the person that's listening to us. It's also distracting for us. So you're far better off to just have some water on hand. If you need to, take a sip, and that way you can focus on the interview. Research, research. So doing a little bit of research ahead of time can really pay you back in the long run. It helps to anticipate what the interview questions might be. When we go on a company's website and we read about that company and we see basically the general tone of the company, the tenor of the company, what they stand for, what they're, all about, it helps us to have a guess as to what the interview might be like. In addition, going on and looking at the job posting. So they should be lining it out for you, hopefully. Normally they do in terms of the requirements and what they're looking for. They're kind of giving you clues as to what's going to be important. So going back, revisiting that, it's great that you applied for the position and now they told you we want to interview you, but go back and reread that. Look at that job posting and say, okay, I'm ready for that. I'm aware, because sometimes when we're applying for a lot of jobs, it's easy to lose sight as to exactly what this particular position was looking for. All this allows us to just feel more prepared and more confident. And that type of confidence allows us to think more clearly. And when we think more clearly, then we can answer the questions better, as opposed to having a lot of anxiety, getting off the call and thinking, oh, I wasn't at my best. I didn't plan ahead. Also, we have on here showcase your work ethic. So this showcases your work ethic because if you show up to an interview and you've clearly done your research and you know exactly the position you've applied for, and you know details perhaps about the company or their website, then the people interviewing you or that person interviewing you realizes that you have that upper level of professionalism that they're looking for. So research continued. So what is research? Again, kind of like I was saying, we can look at the websites to see what it is that they're speaking about or the job posting. We can also look on places such as Glassdoor, perhaps, and see what are some sample interview questions that have been used on Glassdoor in the past for this company. Or we can just simply Google some interview questions that could come up that we want to prepare for. That's part of what we do here at the Career Centers. We do mock interviews. We also have Interview Stream. And those are ways to kind of get yourself ready for an interview to kind of practice so that you're ready. And like I mentioned there, revisit the job listings and the job duties, industry and company information, just being as comfortable and as knowledgeable about the place that you're hoping to get employment at. So here's a few of the places that you can do some investigation: LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Facebook, Indeed, and Vault. So again, going back to Indeed or LinkedIn, looking at that job posting, but also Glassdoor, like I mentioned, to get some feedback from other employees. LinkedIn can also be really great if it's a bigger company and you can connect with other people at that company. Perhaps you can get an informational interview ahead of time to just, find out some information about that company. And then Vault, I know here we've got Vault guides. It's kind of changing around on our website, but essentially Vault guides are a way to investigate the industry in general.
All right, thank you, Alan, and I will take the next portion. My name is Yuliia. I'm a career consultant in the New York City Career Center. And on the next slide, you will see a STAR formula. What is STAR formula? STAR formula will help you structure your answer, and this is kind of your secret weapon. So you know how to answer the question already. This formula doesn't 100% work for all the questions, but some of these elements should be included in most of your answers. This is a great way to showcase your skills. Don't forget to use the result portion, since this is something that can help you showcase your results, showcase your skills, and what you can bring to the table. So on this very simplistic example, you will see a person who, for example, they came home and they saw that their flowers are dying. So this was the situation. We explained that person came home, saw the flowers, which need some help. The task was to get this help to the flowers and bring them back to life. Action was to get some sun, water, fertilizer to help the flowers, and the result was that the flowers were back to life. This is how you would want to structure your answers as well. So we will want to talk about situation, task, action, result, and it's very important to focus on result as well. So this is kind of something that can help you summarize what you just were speaking about. And usually I like to add L, which is learning, to kind of make it thorough, especially when you have the questions like, tell me about a time when you made a mistake, or tell me about a time when you made a failure. So you can tell them like what was the situation, task, action, results, and what this experience taught you, what you learned from it. And those are different types of interview questions, and I will go over each of them. So the first one is behavioral or situational, and those typically sound like, what would you do if, or tell me about a time when, and you will want to use STAR statement to answer those questions. Your answers need to be short, typically within 2-minute time frame, and STAR formula can help with that. So you will want to explain situation, task, action, result, what kind of like accomplishments you had and what it taught you. Traditional questions. Those questions are very popular, and those are kind of questions, for example, tell me about yourself, or why do you want this job? Why do you want to work in this company? What are strengths? What are weaknesses? And this is something that you will typically get during the interview, and you will want to practice for those for sure, even though they might seem easy. The third one is unique questions. So those questions can help you show your personality, your problem-solving skills, critical thinking, and sometimes you can get a riddle or something like that. So that's another type of questions. Tech questions will be job specific, so definitely prepare for those, and it will depend on what kind of job you're applying for, interviewing for. And illegal questions. Unfortunately, they happen, and you will need to be prepared to handle those kind of questions. Sometimes they just don't know that they cannot ask that, and you will need to handle those questions as tactfully as you can. And typically there are like 3 different ways how to answer illegal questions. First, you can just answer it. If you think that the interviewer was simply trying to get to know you and they naively asked the question, you can choose to answer it. Consider the intent of the question, and for example, did they ask about your birthplace because they grew up there as well and they were just trying to get to know you? If you are comfortable answering, you can do that. If you're not, it's totally okay not to answer that. You can also sidestep it, and you can politely refuse to answer the question if you feel like it's not appropriate. So you can just tell them that you don't feel comfortable answering that, and you can change the subject. Again, you can think about like what kind of intent they had when they answer this question. And also you can let them know that it will not interfere you doing your job. So for example, if they ask you about your personal life, your like marital status, your family, you can tell them that I can assure that my personal life will not interfere with my professional responsibilities. And also you can ask them directly how that question relates to the position that you're interviewing for. And this will kind of be alert for the recruiter that this is an inappropriate question. And if you feel like they are putting some pressure on you, maybe it's a red flag that maybe it's not the right spot for you. And behavioral interview questions. So typically those are, for example, describe me a time when you had a conflict at work. Tell me about your biggest accomplishment. Tell me about your mistake or failure. So you will want to use the S.T.A.R formula to answer that kind of question, and it will kind of help you guide your response. So for example, on this slide, you will see an example of answer, and I'll give you some time to read that. And we will want to break it down by situation, task, action, result. So for example, when I worked as an assistant manager, I was always looking for a way to boost my employer's morale. Unloading trucks is a very routine and physical job and can become very boring and exhausting. So to improve the unloader's attitude toward their duties and make the best of the situation, I put a radio in the receiving dock. So this is a situation which happened. It worked. However, the district manager didn't approve the radio, and in the workplace, even though it didn't interfere with any policy or company objectives. I didn't agree with my supervisor's decision to remove the radio. However, I promptly complied. So we are showing those kind of like personal attributes in this way. The employees were unhappy. I found an alternative incentive program method which provided lunch for unloaders from a restaurant of their choosing if they met unloading goals. And this program succeeded by decreasing their unloading time from 2.5 hours to 1.5 hours. So we have the situation, we have the task, we have the action, what exactly they did, we have the result. And the result is very impressive, that they decreased the time, which means that this person saved the time. So it means they save the money, and new employer might think that this employee will do that for them as well. And traditional questions. As I said, most common, and everyone should be prepared for those. And this is kind of your elevator pitch. You will need to stick to your professional attributes. This is not the good time to talk about something too personal, but you can talk about like your career goals, about what makes you passionate for this job. You can talk about your professional attributes. To conclude, you can let them know how you're excited to be there, so you show your enthusiasm as well. You will need to practice it and be prepared at all times, because you never know when you will need to deliver that speech. And this is kind of an example for our mascot. So we have over here, hello, my name is Tamak. I have served as mascot inspiration to UTD community since 1998. I'm passionate about fostering sense of community and spirit within my organization. I'm well versed in all subjects of sports and recreation. I take great pride in my ability to bring a team together. I can't wait to bring my enthusiasm to your next event. So you will want to give your background, and also you can structure this answer like present, past, future. So you will want to talk about what you are right now, what you're doing. You can talk about your past accomplishments, maybe internships or any sort of experiences. You can highlight your best skills, for example, technical skills or soft skills. And then you can talk about the future, that you're excited to be interviewed for this role and you would want to see yourself in this career in the future. And unique interview questions. So those could be riddles, or for example, questions like, if you could have a dinner with anyone, who would it be and why? Or if Hollywood made a movie about your life, who would you like to see play the lead role as you? So those kind of questions will help employer to learn more about your personality. So this is the time to answer honestly and to be authentic, but proceed with caution. So for example, if you get this question, who would you have dinner with? It's best to be neutral. For example, if you choose a political figure, it can be polarizing and it might turn some people off. So keep it neutral, but don't answer, I don't know. Try to come up with something. Technical interview questions. So that will be specific to the job that you're applying for, interviewing for. And you will need to, you don't need to use the STAR formula for that typically, but you will need to show your way of thinking. Sometimes you will have the question, for example, tell me about a time when you calculated net income, and then like you will tell them the procedure and the time when you actually did it. So those would be very specific to your job, and I typically recommend just like searching for most common questions for software developer job, for example, and take a look at those and prepare for tech questions. And for wrap up, you will want to be ready to answer a question, what questions do you have for us? You should not say that you don't have any questions, because it might show the lack of interest in the position and it might turn them off. So you will want to come up with some questions that will be, for example, specific to the job that you are curious about, or you can ask about the team culture, you can ask them about their work, about the goals of this department. So you will need to prepare a list of questions that you would want to ask. You can also ask like about the timeline of hiring decision, stuff like that. And employers, they do expect you to ask questions. So stay away from asking questions like, what are the benefits or what are the salary? Because first interview especially is not the time to negotiate your salary and benefits. And during the interviews, you should not talk about the money questions. You will discuss that and negotiate after you receive an offer, and we will have additional workshop on that as well. You would want to make sure that the company knows what you will bring to the table. This is the most important, and you can structure your questions based on that as well. Also, I would advise to email the interviewer a thank you note, so you can look up them on the company's website, see what people were your interviewers, and you would want to send them thank you note, and you would want to follow up as well, or make a plan to follow up. And some general guidelines and best practices. Be yourself, be authentic, and this is what you're best at. Don't go with the script, just be yourself. If you are not an extrovert like myself, don't portray yourself as one. There is a place in the workplace for everyone. Don't feel like you have to be an extrovert for this position, for example, or like any other personal attributes as well. When a person is looking for people to join their team, they would want to see the qualities that they don't have. And you will also need to be professional and be yourself. Be authentic. They want to see your uniqueness. They want to see what kind of person you are. You will want to minimize distractions. So give them full attention. Make sure that if you're in your room, that your roommate will not enter the room, or like, for example, if you have pets, make sure that you take care of that and nothing will distract you during the interview. In terms of be prepared, I would advise to have your resume pulled up on the screen if it's a virtual interview, or have it with you if it's in-person interview. Also have the list of questions. It's okay if you write them down. And also I would advise to have the job description with you as well. And another tip would be to save the job descriptions that you're applying for, because once the deadline passed, you might not be able to find that description again. So that would be more difficult to prepare. So you might want to consider saving those job descriptions. You will want to make eye contact, as Alan mentioned, it's very important. But at the same time, we would not advise to focus only on eye contact and not on the content that you're delivering. You will want to do activities that increase your professionalism, so dress appropriately, smile, and even if it's virtual interview or phone interview, I would still advise to dress up because it will help you feel more professional. Body language can display your enthusiasm, and it can also help you appear more friendly. So definitely use that, but make sure that you're mindful of body language as well and you don't use it too extensively. Do not bash former employers. Under any circumstances, don't talk negatively about your former employers. You will need to find a diplomatic and polite way or find something positive to tell about them. Because they might think that if you criticize your former employer, that you will criticize them in the future. And they might think that the problem was not with your previous employer, but maybe the problem was with you. So definitely it will portray a negative image on you, but not on your former employer. And send the thank you notes, definitely follow up. And you might also check in with HR later, for example, if they tell you that they have 3 weeks timeline to make a decision, you can send a follow up during that time as well. And practice. This is the biggest takeaway, and I believe that interview is a muscle. You definitely need to practice. The more you practice, the better you feel, the more comfortable you feel. So definitely practice, practice, practice with your friends, alone, with our career consultants. The more you practice, the better you feel during the interview. And we have an amazing resource for our students and alumni, and this is incredible. It allows you to see your responses, so you will record yourself and answer some questions. There is a pretty large list of questions that you can practice, and this resource is dedicated to helping students and alumni prepare for real world job interviews. It's very simple to use, and it will offer simulated interview scenarios to help you develop interviewing skills. So you will just need to go to University Career website, find resources, and just simply register for an account in interview stream using your UTD email address. And some final thoughts. Be confident but not arrogant. Prepared but not mechanical. Professional but not cold. Assertive but not aggressive. Friendly but not cavalier. Available but not needy. And we also are here for you to help you prepare. Interview is a muscle, as I believe, and we can help you prepare. So definitely schedule mock interview with career consultants, and we can practice a lot of different questions and help you and give you feedback on your answers and just help you feel better for the interviews which you will have in the future. And that concludes our presentation. We have a QR code, and we will appreciate if you could scan it and provide your feedback, so it helps us learn and improve our services. And now it's time for Q&A. Any questions? You can just put them in chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I wasn't able to view the full presentation. Will we be able to view the recording later?
Yeah, definitely. We will post this recording on our YouTube channel, and I will give the link in just a second.
Thank you.
I see a question in there as well saying, what is Vault? So Vault, we have Vault guides. And actually, Yuliia, did you just, oh, okay, that's the video. Vault guides, so they are guides that allow you to look up more information about different industries. And Yuliia, I know you'd mentioned that has moved locations. It's no longer, can you speak about that a little bit?
Yes, and I'm sending the link as well. So yeah, they merged websites with Firsthand, and I just sent the link to the Handshake where you can access it. So from there, you will just need to go and click login into Vault. It will bring you to the Firsthand page, so you can just click home page and find the guides over there. They're still having some technical difficulties still since they are merging this week, but hopefully they will fix those by next week. Any other questions?
Okay, so the question is, I registered with Handshake, but I do not see where I can do a mock interview. So there's a list of choices in terms of when you try and make an appointment or you make an appointment with a career consultant. So it can be for reviewing documents. It can be for mock interviews. It can be for just career consulting. So there's different choices in there. If you needed any assistance with that, you can definitely call up at the front desk and they can help to get you registered.
Yeah, and I just send the link. You can just click that and then click make an appointment, select appointment type, and you will find mock interviews, one of the appointment times over there. And it's very helpful if you also send your resume and a job description beforehand, so the career consultant can prepare and ask you like relevant questions to the position that you're applying for.
I'm going to stop recording. Yuliia, I think that is it for questions.
All right. Sounds good.